And to be quite honest with you, I'm disgusted. I'm disgusted with Sue Bird. Sue Bird has went full circle speaking about Caitlin Clark after the recent viewership crash and lack of interest for the WNBA. This is what we want. Instead, we're still getting on viewership numbers. It got pretty tasty between the two, and Steppe was not going to sit there and let Caitlin Clark get hated on. Steven has had Caitlin's back all season, and he wasn't going to stop. Now what you mean, ESPN? So, because I work at my day job on ESPN, I'm supposed to ignore the facts. Sue Bird wasn't a fan of Steven calling out the facts. Viewership numbers are down and nobody really has an interest in watching the WNBA finals. Those are the facts. See, Steven. A Smith talk about it. I've seen Shannon Sharp talk about it, and that's what I just don't understand is they work for ESPN. So why are you hating on a product that you invest in? Yeah, that's where it's your business. It's not that they can't, and by the way, it's not that they can't be critical of certain things. They can have their opinions, but that's where I don't understand the framing. Just because Steven works for ESPN, he still gives his honest opinion on what's happening. Caitlin is a huge draw, and without her, the WNBA has been struggling to maintain the same numbers. Sue Bird believes crowds are still coming out to watch and stadiums are still full, but ticket prices have fallen tremendously, which is why fans are still watching to see tickets at the Target Center in Minnesota selling for as low as $10 for a ticket to watch a playoff game. That is crazy, but do we really think if Caitlin was playing, the WNBA would be selling tickets for the same price? Obviously not. Sup to talk about the attendance, and says basically that Caitlin had the highest attendance in the playoffs, which Caitlin Clark, her first 2 rounds in Connecticut, which only holds roughly 10-0, and they got swept, so they never made it back to Cambridge, Indiana, to play a home game. So they absolutely did not have the highest attendance. Sue Bird, a legend and one of the most respected figures in women's basketball, has recently found herself at the center of an unexpected and heated controversy. It all began when Bird reportedly pointed fingers at Caitlin Clark for the recent dip in WNBA playoff ratings and declining ticket sales. Bird's comments came as a surprise to many, as Clark's impact on the sport has been widely praised for drawing massive attention. There is a Caitlin Clark effect on all of basketball, and especially on women's basketball. RATINGS, kudos to her. She has elevated an entire sport in viewership. Bird, a longtime advocate for the growth and resilience of the WNBA, felt that Smith's remarks painted the league in an unfairly negative light. In her view, it undermined the collective effort of the players and the league's development over the years. Bird was quick to push back against this narrative, determined to protect the image of the WNBA and assert that it could thrive beyond one player's impact. Sue Bird's frustration wasn't solely directed at Stephanie Smith. She also took aim at Shannon Sharp, who had similarly highlighted the massive attention Caitlin Clark had brought to women's basketball. Both Smith and Sharp had been vocal in their praise of Clark, repeatedly acknowledging her as a key reason for the surge in viewership and interest in the sport. However, for Bird, this focus on Clark felt like it was undermining the WNBA's broader efforts. Bird, as a longtime advocate for women's basketball, was adamant that the league's growth should not be tied to one player, believing that it could thrive through collective efforts rather than individual star power alone. With Stephanie and with Shannon, there's an aspect of them defending their stances on her, we were right about Caitlin and this is our defense. And I still think there's something twisted there, because nobody ever said that Caitlin wasn't going to be a marketing nobody, gem, a unicorn, but the reality of the situation is hard to ignore. Caitlin Clark's dominant performances in college basketball attracted unprecedented attention, and many hoped that this momentum would seamlessly carry over to the WNBA playoffs without Clark's presence, the WNBA faced a significant challenge: how to maintain the excitement and fan engagement she had generated. The league suddenly found itself in a difficult spot, scrambling to figure out how to fill the void left by her absence and retain the same level of interest. But if you guys take a look at the stands, all the seats, even the courtside seats, are empty. One of the ways the WNBA addressed the decline in interest was by lowering ticket prices for playoff games. Fans quickly noticed that without Caitlin Clark's presence, ticket prices dropped significantly, a clear indication that the league was making efforts to fill seats. On the surface, it appeared that the W was successfully selling out games and maintaining strong attendance, but the reality was more complicated. The decision to lower ticket prices was a deliberate strategy to avoid the embarrassment of empty arenas during key matchups. While this created an illusion of high demand, it didn't reflect the true level of fan interest. By reducing prices, the league managed to keep stadiums fuller, but it masked the underlying issue that without Clark, the enthusiasm and dissension simply weren't the same. We've been to the Liberty games. They're full. It looks full in Vegas. It looks full every single place that you go. TD Garden sold out when Caitlin wasn't playing there. For a regular season, like if the WNBA had kept ticket prices at the same level as during Caitlin Clark's season, it's highly likely that the arenas would have been far less crowded. By lowering prices, the league succeeded in filling seats and maintaining the appearance of robust attendance. But this tactic only worked in the short term. The numbers, however, tell a different story. Without the buzz and excitement that Clark consistently brought to the game, the WNBA has struggled to generate the same level of interest from fans. Subird's initial support of Caitlin Clark's impact on the sport has made her recent comments all the more surprising. When Clark first burst onto the scene, Bird was among the earliest to acknowledge her immense potential to revolutionize women's basketball. This change in approach suggests Bird is more concerned with protecting the league's long-term image. Nonsense about things that Caitlin was doing wrong, when, in my personal opinion, she was doing nothing but going out there and playing great basketball every night and ignoring the hate that was coming to her from all sides, not only from fans. What's become clear is that Caitlin Clark's ability to draw immense attention to women's basketball has made her both a hero and, in some circles, a target. It's a common phenomenon in sports. Athletes who rise to stardom rapidly often face backlash, not only from rivals, but sometimes from figures within their own industry. For every fan who celebrates Clark's meteoric ascent, there are others who view her success as a disruption to the established order. Cheryl Swoops, another WNBA legend, has also expressed mixed feelings about Clark's impact. Will Caitlin Clark come into the WNBA and do what she's doing right now immediately? Absolutely not. Without players like Caitlin Clark, the league struggles to maintain the same level of interest and excitement she drew in not just hardcore basketball fans, but casual viewers as well, capturing a broader audience that the league has long sought. However, once she's out of the spotlight, the WNBA has found it challenging to sustain the same level of fan engagement and enthusiasm. Without a player of Clark's magnetism, the league is forced to confront a reality where maintaining widespread interest becomes a much steeper uphill battle. While the WNBA has made significant strides in recent years growing its fan base and visibility, it continues to face substantial hurdles in attracting widespread attention and consistent support. Caitlin Clark represented a rare phenomenon, an athlete whose talent and personality transcended the sport, drawing in viewers who might not normally follow women's basketball, made people stick around and want to watch the others. AR rising tide lifts, or both, which is what we were saying, both. Shannon Shar and myself, when we address that issue, why would you say a quote like that? We work for ESPN, so I'm supposed to turn a blind eye and a deaf ear to the facts that ain't what we do. Her ability to captivate casual fans brought a surge of interest that the league has struggled to replicate now in her absence. the WNBA finds itself grappling with how to maintain that momentum as it navigates the difficulty of sustaining the excitement Clark generated and filling the gap left by her star power. Caitlin Clark, for her part, has remained focused on her game, consistently performing at an elite level despite the growing noise and attention surrounding her. As her star continues to rise, it's become increasingly difficult to ignore the growing number of detractors for reasons ranging from jealousy to insecurity. Some individuals inevitably push back against an athlete who appears to have it all. A meteoric rise, fan eration, an undeniable talent you're going to see. WNBA playoff viewership down now that Caitlin is out, and is that somewhat factually accurate? Yes, it's not accurate. Viewership numbers with Caitlin Clark are astronomical. She is a big draw. She brings in all the things we know this. We've said that despite the overwhelming positive impact she's had on the sport, Clark has had to deal with her fair share of critics and haters. These detractors often seem more concerned with tearing down her success than acknowledging the attention and excitement she has brought to women's basketball. Still, Clark has managed to stay focused on her performance, navigating the pressure